She will conceal the facts and test you with quiet. You may learn about a woman's past without asking her by interpreting the signals she sends and the space she generates. This movie reveals the subtle strategies used by women, the tests that men fail, and the faults that reduce your value as a guy. Switch your focus from inquiry to observation. Use emotional control and stoic detachment to convert inquiries into data. Look at female psychology as patterns rather than anecdotes. Maintain a stable, manly frame. Allow emotional discipline to disclose what words conceal. Stay till the finish, and you'll understand how to judge without asking a single inquiry. Will you observe, learn, or continue to guess? Point number 1, emotional exposure. Why look for solutions with your lips when the actual proof is in little actions? Why expect honesty and then penalize the silence that ensues? Consider this vision from the gym mirror at 5 a.m. Set your jaw and breathe loudly. You write a message on the screen at 2 a.m., a bold allegation. You sign custody papers, your pen trembling. You return home to an empty bed, attempting to make history out of a blank night. It's not what happens to you that matters, but how you handle it. Epictetus say the sentence gently. Allow it to land like a stone. 2,000 years ago, a guy took less than he was owed. He assessed the universe by what he could bring back to camp. He judged other guys by their actions, not their promises. That practice took the form of tiny deeds, such as mending a sleeve or leaving a door locked. Now, there's a different conflict. The battleground is late. Texts and cautious responses. You put her to the test with questions, and you mistake the result for the truth. You rant. You do a search. You get boisterous. The silence reveals the pattern. A lack of explanation does not automatically imply guilt. A smooth, cautious habit will manifest itself in habits, in the way she holds room for you, at what she never says at the bar. Count tiny repetitions. Notice what does not change. That's the ledger. Imagine reading a ledger rather than a confession. Imagine assessing actions rather than excuses. Consider the one who offers without drama versus the person who gives tales instead. You cannot win by imposing words. You will win by allowing your actions to speak for themselves until they can no longer be ignored. Practice your quiet. How many truths will you realize after you quit speaking? Maintain that strain. Stick with the agony. Next, I'll demonstrate the precise signals that indicate that history is recent, as well as a simple test that reveal the lie without asking a question. Point number 2, recognition of the exam. When she draws away, do you follow or pause when her tone changes? Do you ask what's wrong, or do you watch? What changes? The exam is something that every guy must undergo. It never comes with a warning. It's veiled in delayed responses, abrupt coldness, or quiet challenges to your authority. You believe she wants answers, but she wants to watch your reaction, because reaction equals admissions. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not external events." That is a test. Ancient and constant, the Romans had to deal with treason inside their own ranks. A soldier's discipline would be tested by giving him bogus commands. The unskilled man would panic and act too quickly. The trained person waited, held configuration. I trusted the center. That was a measure of trust and strength. Today is no different. You receive the contemporary version, the ignored message, and the ambiguous narrative about another man, the abrupt decrease in warmth. She is monitoring your pulse, not your words. You'll have to react. It reveals your frailty. Your quiet increases your worth. This is not cruelty. It is instinct. Every woman tries for stability in the same manner that every soldier looks for loyalty. She wants to feel the earth under her feet, even if it means shaking at first. So you stay motionless. You observe. You resist the bait. You transform into an immovable frame. When her attempts to disrupt your core are unsuccessful, your worth increases. This is when her eyes shift. When interest fades, respect takes its place. Maintain your composure during the test. Watch. Don't defend. Stand steady until the truth emerges through actions. Develop your composure. How many tests did you flunk because you couldn't sit quietly? Stay close. Next, you'll learn how the macho trap develops when reaction becomes identity and why losing control costs you everything. Point number 3, the male trap. Why do you believe that control implies demonstrating something? Why are you chasing a lady who has already determined how she wants to feel? The macho trap occurs when you attempt to mend something that isn't broken. Explain what doesn't require explaining, and show what was always clear. It's a subtle resignation disguised as effort. You look in the mirror and see strength, but she notices the man who reacts to every change in her tone. The instant she realizes your piece is dependent on her attention, the equilibrium is gone. Now you're playing her game. Seneca stated that he who is bold is free. Freedom is not about escaping suffering. It is about refusing to plead for peace in Rome. A general who asked the Senate for validation was forgotten. A guy who stood alone and silent became legendary. The audience always knows who needs approval. They feed him. Cheers, then take away his authority. Today, guys follow the same pattern. You plead for closure, reassurance, and confirmation. You mistook her approbation for air, and when she withholds it, you get entrapped in your own expectations. This is a trap. You lose sight of your purpose and become absorbed in her feelings. You convert your frame into a reaction. You give up the command and terminate a connection. The stoic way cuts the rope. You cease chasing, comprehending, and developing gravity. You say less and hold more. Let quiet do the work. Every time you decline to debate, you regain ground. Each time you stop explaining, you gain weight. Every time you allow her to experience the space your absence makes, your worth increases. Exercise your restraint. When did you begin confusing attention for respect? Next, we'll discuss separation. Not as an escape, but for clarity. The point at when emotion no longer controls your course. Point number 4, detachment, is defined as clarity. Why do you believe caring entails surrendering control? Why do you associate emotion with weakness when it is just evidence of what still controls you? Detachment is not coldness. It is sight. It is the moment you quit struggling for a non-existent vision of reality. You stop questioning why she changed. You start to see her as she always was. At 3 a.m., you gaze at your phone. That will not light up. You look through old images. Try to sense what's gone. You aren't waiting for her. You're waiting for authorization to move. That is the delusion. Marcus Aurelius once remarked that if you live each day as if it were your last, you will find respite from foolish illusions. He meant attention, presence, and pure detachment. The old warrior gazed over slain friends but did not condemn destiny. He accepted the expense. He was still fighting at morning. He refused to let grief impair his goal. You, too, must learn to see through cacophony of contemporary warfare. Clarity is your weapon. When she withdraws, when life bends, take a step back, breathe, and observe. You're no longer asking, what exactly does this mean? You question, what can I control? You go from feeling to observation. You investigate trends. You observe how her stories vary as your energy shifts. You stop pursuing closure and begin developing discipline. You cease needing to be understood. You start to become unshakable. That is separation. It is not a wall. It is armor made from stillness. Every calm response resets your instincts. Every pause restores your authority. Every moment of stillness promotes clarity. Improve your quietness. How much of your sorrow stemmed from refusing to recognize what was already obvious? Maintain a sharp edge. The next step is to deal with the resulting value loss. Reaction and why. Word destroy, but silence protects. Point number 5, value loss due to a response. Why do you believe reacting shows you care? Why are you giving up your peace every time someone pulls a string? Reacting is the fastest way to lose value. When you do, you reveal what governs you. In that moment, your authority passes to whoever initiated the reaction. You receive a message that comes across as chilly and distant. You snap, you type paragraphs, you explain. You believe you are protecting the truth, but you are actually auctioning your value. Seneca stated that if anger is not controlled, it might be more detrimental to us than the hurt that causes it. Every reaction represents a slight loss of control. Every outburst results in a confession. In ancient times, soldiers were educated to battle without emotion, not because they felt nothing, but because emotion made them predictable. A man who attacked first without thinking about exposing the structure. A guy who waited and measured, who allowed anarchy to burn itself out. Always won. Your battleground is now digital. Her quietness, her test and mood swing. The trap stays the same. You lose by demonstrating that you have to win. When you chase, argue, defend, or explain, you convert power to noise. Your energy becomes cheaper. Your presence loses weight. And she no longer appreciates the gravitas she once did. However, when you hold, breathe, and let the storm pass without moving, you become unreadable, untouchable, and genuine. This is when her tone changes again. Curiosity replaces control. When she learns she can no longer move you, your calmness becomes your value. Your silence becomes proof. Develop your composure. How many times have you paid with dignity for the opportunity to be understood? Maintain stability. The ancients employed discipline to transform anguish into accuracy, and that same control now wins every modern emotional battle. Point number 6, ancient discipline in contemporary warfare. Why do you believe rituals are optional, but the world requires proof? Why wait for a crisis to select which habit you will maintain? Imagine this. You are awake before morning. Coffee burns the tongue. You tie your shoes in a quiet garage. You proceed through the hour with a list. You don't tell anyone. You sign paperwork every day. You work out in the darkness at night. You return to a house that provides little tests, silences an unread mail on the counter, and a voice that changes tone during supper. You do not burst. You don't plead. You incorporate your day into the plan and walk away. You keep appointments with yourself. Marcus Aurelius stated, "Don't waste time arguing about what a good man should be. Become one. Allow that to settle." Like in an ancient camp, men were taught to inspect their gear at morning. They polished the armor so it mirrored the sky. They ate the same bread, walked the same distance, and prepared the same bed. Rumor couldn't bend the form programmed by the tiny repetitions. These patterns made life more predictable, which increased trust. Now the war is different. Your camp consists of emails, late nights, and shifting loyalties. Your armor is the calm habit you maintain when no one is watching. You develop proof by repeating activities until they gain reputation. Making a habit eliminates emotion from the decision-making process. The first reaction. When a ledger is full, stories and justifications become irrelevant. Consider how one modest deed may have a significant impact. See how a continuous unwillingness to be swayed changes what people anticipate. See how your day shapes the man she eventually trusts or the man she constantly tests. There are no exceptions to the procedure. Will you start now and never miss a single morning? Prepare to understand particular daily principles that turn private practice into measurable value. Next, I'll tell you about the specific activities, time, and failure points that distinguish solid men from the needy. You've just witnessed how silence may disclose more truth than questions ever would. every emotion. Stop every decision to remain motionless rather than chase. That is how you retake control and restore your value. If this message resonates with you, know that you are not alone in learning to be quiet in a world that thrives on noise. Every man watching is waging his own version of the same conflict, which is what gives this area its strength. Thank you for taking the time to listen, ponder, and develop your thinking. If you find this useful, subscribe and join this small movement of guys who think deeper and respond slowly. And if you've been in a situation when silence taught you more than words, share it in the comments. Someone else may need to hear it. Thank you for watching, and until next time.